Okay, stop me if you've heard this before. A bill debated in a packed committee room with overwhelming opposition standing up to testify against it, yet it passes that committee with flying colors. 11-2, right along party lines. House Bill 415 is aimed at letting teachers and school staff carry concealed weapons on school grounds. Not allowed now, but those in favor believe it should be, statewide. But the bigger question revolves around whether that should be decided locally. For example, Garden Valley School District decided teachers with guns, well, that's how they want to handle school safety. Others, they have private security, and many are contracted with local police for officers on site, call them school resource officers. This bill, though, would mean local school districts could not stop a teacher or staff member from carrying a concealed weapon on campus, which, as Andrew Bartline found out, is too much for some and won't work for everyone.
The leading language on Wednesday's docket
House Bill 415.
is to rework state statutes.
You want to keep doing it that way, fine.
In House.
I'm saying no.
State affairs.
I'm saying change. I'm not going to be a sheep at my school, and so I'm going to do something about it. And I think people want that. Nobody wants to be the end of that.
Representative Ted Hill sponsors the bill. It would allow Idaho teachers, staff, and volunteers to concealed carry at school.
This is a parents' issue. Parents want this. That's the key.
Just not
No, thank you.
these parents.
I hang my head in shame, and all of you should. And everyone in this room should as well.
There has been some testimony this session about not trusting librarians with books, but this trusts librarians with a Glock.
Please vote no on H 415.
It's a testimony students in the room would echo.
Yep.
Had Eloisa Harper held the podium.
Students are the ones being affected by this, and I also think that it's important to note that teachers did not become teachers to shoot people. And having more guns in my school doesn't make me feel any safer, and I think I speak for students who have the same fear as me.
But Idaho's a strong two-way state.
You have to answer violence with violence. You can't sit back and passively hope it's going to be okay.
And Representative Gannon
Is there questions?
wants a two-way conversation.
Has the NRA got a survey of parents and those who deal with the schools on this subject, and would you be willing to share that with us?
Did you answer that, yes or no?
Thank you, Chairman. A survey was not necessary.
Meaning firsthand experience leading a school was left overlooked.
Exactly.
Mark Gee heads Middleton Schools.
We really felt like the local control and our local school board had the right information to make a decision for Middleton.
Current Idaho law grants school districts the power to regulate guns in schools as they see fit. In Middleton, they determined school resource officers just weren't enough.
Then at each of our elementary schools, we've got a security officer.
Contracted guns
Next up will be Scott Brock.
on a highly trained team.
I own a company that provides armed security in school districts in the state of Idaho currently.
He has a 20-year Green Beret protecting a Middleton school right now. And if the bill becomes law, he fears it creates confusion.
My largest concern is identification. If we're at a school event where we have a ton of parents, and I have a ton of parents there that are carrying, and an incident takes place, there's going to be a lot of guns out. I need them to be able to identify my guys for their safety, and then my people need to be able to identify the concealed carriers. Same with law enforcement.
The difference being, Scott's guys are highly trained. He says more than your local police department and far more than the teacher.
I will tell you that the enhanced carry class is the lowest common denominator. That's the lowest level of training. It's the entry-level training.
But that permit is all the training needed for a school staff member to carry under this bill. And any qualifying staff member could carry.
You can't override it. So this is going to be a statewide thing.
Stepping on local control and districts who say they never asked for it in the first place.
So why don't we let the school boards, who have been elected by the people, make those decisions? To me, that's the essence of local control and what we're trying to fight for in the first place.
No teacher under this bill would be forced to hold a concealed carry. It would be if you so choose to do. Again, the district couldn't stop you if it became law to allow that to happen in the district. There are some safeguards to this as well for civil action. So for example, Brian, if there's a threat that happens and a teacher doesn't act properly, like they freeze, for example, a parent couldn't sue that teacher and say, you failed to protect my kid. So there's some safeguards in there as well. Also, they say it's cheaper. That contracted security out to Middleton.
Okay.
They say it's a higher level of training. I mean, these guys are like air marshal level training,
Right.
which I understand is remarkably difficult. And they can get 2.5 for the price of like one SRO.
Okay, so two things that stood out to me. One is that they didn't talk to school districts about this and parents to find out if this is necessary, the NRA lobbyist. Secondly, it includes volunteers. Like a volunteer who shows up like, I'm gonna go help my kid's class read, I could be carrying a gun.
That was part of the conversation, is what level of volunteer? Somebody holding a flag on the crosswalk, someone who's contracted with the district. It seems the language, there's a disagreement between lawmakers.
And yet it passes 11-2, so we'll see what happens on the House floor with that. Okay,